Okay, so how do your allergies affect your life then? Does it really impact on where you go, what you do?
Yeah, it does. So it sort of impacted me, I'd say, different amounts throughout my life. So when I was diagnosed, we'll try and do all of it. When I was had my egg allergy as a child, basically, mum was the one that was taking on that burden and making sure things were fine for me. And I don't have memories of actually really ever being worried when I was a kid because it was sort of taken care of, and I probably didn't quite understand how
Mm.
severe it could be. And I'd also with the egg allergy, I don't think it was quite too I didn't have to carry EpiPens and stuff, I
Mm.
don't think, or don't think mum did. So I think it was maybe I wasn't as likely to have like an anaphylactic reaction. So that also impacts slightly perhaps how we perceived it. So sort of as a child, I don't really remember it impacting me too much. I always had my special cakes that mum would bake when I went to a party. So I'd have a sort of I think I'd bring my own like chocolate rice crispy cake, which didn't have egg. And like when I had a birthday party, she'd basically do a cake that I could eat and like stuff like that. So it didn't really actually impact me that much. But when I had my sort of diagnosis at 13 of the peanut allergy, that was obviously quite a big change. And I don't really think I dealt with it very well. I looking back and I took far too many risks, like stupid things like sometimes eat it at Chinese and not even tell them I have allergies, which is sort of playing with fire if you've got peanut allergy. And then massively regret doing it afterwards and feel really anxious. That was always fun. But I think my way of coping with it was not really coping very well, to be honest. I think a lot of it at that age, I didn't want to be seen as like different from other people and sort of making a fuss and drawing attention to myself, which I have absolutely no problem with now and haven't had for years. Like that aspect's sort of gone, but it's sort of a weird paradox, but I probably had a better quality of life because I was just basically doing whatever, not really thinking about stuff. I mean, it eventually started catching up when doing that made me feel anxious after not taking precautions. So it sort of
Mm.
started pushing that way. But yeah, I probably had a better quality of life when I was approaching it that way. But I had how long ago now would it be? So maybe 6 years ago, I had a couple of really severe reactions, and particularly one, the worst I've had, where I had like a falling like blood pressure and went faint and stuff, and it was really like terrifying. And since that, my perception of risk and how I seem to be able to cope with stuff has just completely changed. Like it feels like it's not diagnosed or anything, but a sort of like PTSD or like traumatic response because it was so horrific that my body seems to have a mind seems to have a different perception of risk and what it feels is okay. And I haven't really I don't know, made a huge amount of progress from then. I had a couple of years of, or at least a year of having my anxiety got so bad that I was having panic attacks whenever I ate and lost lots of weight, and I'm still recovering in terms of trying to put back weight on years later. So yeah, it got really unpleasant actually for a while, and yeah, I don't I haven't eaten out for years. I have a pretty sort of yeah, it feels like quite a sort of small insular life at the moment. And I'm sort of trying to expand my horizons a bit, but yeah, it's sort of really yeah, sort of not me for six the past few years, particularly I'm sort of better than I was, and I haven't had a panic attack for quite a few years now, I think. But yeah, it has definitely had a big impact. It's interesting those this almost seems to be two different versions of me. Like the person before had those two severe reactions quite close to one another, and like after, there seems to be quite a clear split on how I cope and my perception of things. Um, yeah,
Yeah, that's understandable. I mean, it is frightening to have an allergic reaction. And I don't think people understand just how much it impacts on our emotional life, our mental outlook, and the stress it can cause can be disabling.
Yeah, no, it
Um,
really can. Yeah.
and I think then there needs to be more focus put onto that to make people understand this is what we face every day when we suffer with food allergies.